And he's made a number of videos recently. In fact, his past 2 videos, he spent a good bit of time trying to discredit William Lane Craig as actually somebody worth listening to. His recent video entitled William Lane, 2 Citations Craig, Academic Midget, not really sure, goes straight for the basket. Craig is, in his opinion, an individual who is a poor, unrespected philosopher, and equally so, a liar for having fooled his audience into believing that he is, in fact, a good and respected philosopher. Again, I'm not really one of those William Lane Craig fanboys who feels this compulsion to defend this man at all costs. But his work, if you actually take the time to read it, and I encourage you, take the time to read it, defends itself and defends the reputation that he has given. Even Thunderf00t throws up a significant number of books Craig has written. You can check any of those out. Now, I want to address 3 major problems with this video, since it is in fact gaining a good bit of traction. Number 1, I'm going to say this: Thunderf00t quote mines inappropriately. He has Craig note that his own personal opinion, he does this on the Michael Koren show, he has him note his own personal opinion on the God delusion and Dawkins as a philosopher. Now, Craig was asked, what is your opinion on the God delusion? Constantly, Thunderf00t throws out the fallacy of ad hominem, of personal opinion, of ad populum, so forth. Basically, the implication is that Craig thinks Dawkins is a poor philosopher, and that he really has nothing more than his own personal opinion and complaint on his side. At most, he has the appeal to authority, which, of course, we know is a fallacy. This is, in my opinion, Thunderf00t academic dishonesty. It should be really seen as such by someone who is claiming to be more respected than Craig within the real academic community. Thunderf00t has entirely ignored Craig's own arguments and publications dealing with Dawkins' work. In fact, where he pulled the shot of Craig surrounded by the book publications, he pulled this from another YouTube user, you can see the details below, he conveniently forgot to include the subsequent shots of Craig actually dealing with the arguments. Craig has dealt with them, but the implication that you gather from this video is that he's got nothing more than opinion and complaint on his side. I encourage you, read Craig's books. Listen to some of his debates, listen to some of his talks. You'll find out that he deals with Dawkins, and he deals with the arguments that are there. Number 2, Thunderf00t actually pulls a red herring. This is a fallacy. He portrays Craig as simply not being upheld by his reputation in the philosophical community. The implication then is if Craig can be discredited as well as not respected within the philosophical community, then Dawkins must be credible and respected. The fact is, even if Craig were not respected as a philosopher, this by no means suggests that Dawkins is respected as a philosopher. That just doesn't hold weight. Craig's own opinion of the God delusion is not limited to Craig. The larger majority of philosophers, both atheistic and theistic, find the God delusion to be a very poor piece of philosophy and a very poor piece of writing. Michael Roos noted that the God delusion makes him, quote, embarrassed to be an atheist. In fact, in a conversation I had with Roos several years ago when he came to Appalachian State, he stated very bluntly to me that the popularity of this book was extremely unfortunate, as it makes a very weak case for atheism. I don't think I need to say more. Finally, there's the issue of the H-index problem. This is the whole blunt of Thunderf00t's argument. And what a problem it is. Thunderf00t cites the Wikipedia article on H-index, a directory of scholarly and scientific citations, but he fails to mention a number of significant problems with it, problems that you can actually see if you go to the Wikipedia page and look at the H-index. I'll cite 3, though there are certainly more problems with this. First problem is that you can cite yourself. This is the same problem Wikipedia has. Let's be honest, it's probably likely to be correct, but it's only a general tool. You cannot make exhaustive remarks about a person's credibility through this. Secondly, it fails to take into account positive and negative citations. It could actually be, especially with the popularity of the God delusion, that Dawkins was cited more negatively over the past decade than positively. I'm not saying that this is the case. I'm I'm saying it's a problem because we simply cannot know. In theory, in fact, we could have Dawkins cited negatively in every single citation, and Craig cited positively in every citation. This would be a problem then for judging respectability. Finally, scientific periodicals and journal publications are much more demanded than philosophical ones. This needs to be kept in mind. Due to the nature of these two disciplines, while both can publish in books and journals, a philosopher is just simply more likely to publish a book than journals. Thus, we're much more likely to have scientists publishing papers and journal articles than we are philosophers. This means that the majority of publications would land in the scientific field and the minority within the philosophical field. This would skew the results, and with that, it's to be noted that Dawkins is a brilliant scientist and biologist. I mean, he teaches at Oxford. Nobody is calling this into question. What is being called into question is his philosophical capabilities. It would be worth noting and be worth checking out how many philosophy papers Dawkins is cited positively in versus Craig. It would be worth noting as well the number of citations people like Stephen Law or Quinton Smith or Kai Nielsen or Michael Roos have as philosophers. I'm not sure of this number, but I'm saying it's worth checking it out. That might actually give us a better estimation of how he's viewed within the community. Because if Stephen Law or Quinton Smith or Kai Nielsen or Michael Roos or any of the other atheistic philosophers have 2 citations or less, I wonder if Thunderfoot would call them academic midgets as well. I'll wrap up with this. I was an undergrad philosophy major at a secular university. Craig was not the biggest deal around, and though he was certainly known and respected. Probably Craig's own reputation as an evangelical and popular Christian apologist hinders the level of respect that he deserves. Nobody really wants to cite William Lane Craig, the outspoken evangelical Christian apologist, if they don't have to. I'm a New Testament historian, and simple fact is I won't cite Lee Strobel, not because he's wrong. Sometimes he is, sometimes he's not. It's because he has a certain stigma that's attached to him, and I don't want to take on that stigma. On a certain level, this is probably the same for Craig. In fact, in N.T. Wright's The Resurrection of the Son of God, N.T. Wright intentionally did not cite Craig. Later, he remarked that while he acknowledges Craig's worth as worthy of citation, he intentionally left it out because of the audience that he was writing to. He didn't want to be his work to be seen as apologetics. He wanted it to be seen as history and take it seriously as such. And yet, even with this stigma, Craig as a philosopher is taken seriously. Hitchens called him very scholarly, very formidable. Harris called him the one Christian apologist to put the fear of God in my fellow atheists. Could these things really be said of someone who was both a poor philosopher and had a low reputation within his discipline? I doubt it. Craig would be such an easy target. Quinton Smith's words are worth noting. William Lane Craig is one of the leading philosophers of religion and one of the leading philosophers of time. A count of the articles in the Philosophy Journal shows that more articles have been published about Craig's defense of the cosmological argument than have been published about any other philosopher's contemporary formulation of an argument for God's existence. Is Craig respected? Yes, Craig is respected.